From the loveliest village on the plains, this is the Southeastern Sports Podcast.
Here comes Green. Here's the throw to the plate. He is safe. Big one. Ross swings enough drive to deep left field. That one's gone. That one's gone. Howard wins. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone. It's a touchdown. And the Gators have won the game. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel. Desperation play. Black's going to throw in the end zone. Got a man wide open. Larson, he's got it. Touchdown, Auburn. Touchdown, Auburn.
Now with this week's show, here's John Abrams, Riley Hubbard, and Grayson Pierce.
Welcome on in, Southeastern Sports Podcast. So glad that you decided to join us this week. Joined in studio this week by Grayson Pierce, John Abrams, and Grady Hall. Grady, it's been a couple weeks. I'm glad that you're finally back, man. What's going on?
Just, work, school.
Hopefully a few more weeks till the next time.
Oh, that's
man.
pretty cold right there. Well, a lot of excitement around the studio this week because college football is right around the corner. Week 0 games happening on Saturday the 24th. However, the real Week 1 games will not be beginning until the 31st. But doesn't matter. We're still going to preview them this week. So we'll preview some of the really good games that are going to be happening during not Week 0, but during Week 1. We'll also discuss the Braves, as of late, kind of increasing their lead in the NL East over the Nationals. Phillies are really falling out of that race. We'll get into that later on. Also discuss the quarterback situation going on across the Southeastern Conference, focusing on Mississippi State and Auburn. Auburn's the big one because kind of came to a head this week as Bo Nix, the freshman, was announced starter. We'll get into that. And we'll also preview some of, not quite as notable games, but still games to keep your eye on Week 1 as everybody starts to get excited about college football. So let's go ahead and start the preview with one of the headliners, and that is it's an interesting game because neither one of the teams are really, really huge front runners, especially as bad as Florida State was. But I think that the Boise State versus Florida State game in Tallahassee is one to keep your eye on. As bad of a year as Florida State had, this is territory where the Mountain West runner-up last season might be able to take one away in their field, even though Florida State is a 4-point favorite. What are your initial thoughts about this game, Grayson?
I think Boise pulls off the win in this one. I'm not very high on Florida State. I know they have James Blackman coming back.
Nobody's high on Florida State, though.
No. I mean, Willie Taggart, he was really good at South Florida, but since he's been to Power 5, he hasn't really proven anything. And Boise, like you said, they performed well in the Mountain West last year, and I think they win this game. Okay,
fair enough. Grady?
I'm going to have to go against Brayson. I think Florida State's going to win this game. I think James Blackman's going to come out and play well, finally. I think Willie Taggart's going to get those guys ready to play. Remember, they still have Cam Akers. They still have James Blackman. I'm sure they've got talent on defense. I mean, they always seem to have talent. And you got to remember, Boise State, I'm pretty sure, lost their starting quarterback last year.
I think so.
So, I mean, they're going to have some question marks on offense. So, we'll see. It'll be an interesting game.
But which team has more question marks?
That's true. I just feel like Florida State is going to come out and get a Week 1 win for them at home.
Yeah, well, I think this is actually going to be a good game to watch. But I'm with Grayson. I think Boise State wins. Even though, no disrespect to Florida State, but last year was just bad. I don't see – it's just – they've had to be in a full rebuilding mode. They have to be in a full rebuilding mode after what happened last season. And, Willie Taggart, people already want them fired and et cetera. That's a lot to bounce back from. The one thing that can keep Florida State's boat afloat is Cam Akers.
Well, I agree with you in what you said. Florida State's in a position where what there's nothing to lose. You might as well just play with your head cut off, like a chicken with his head cut off.
Right.
So, I mean, I just think Florida's going to come out and win. It'll be close. I wouldn't be surprised if Boise State won that game.
I mean, it's not. They only have Florida State as a 4-point favorite, so it's a virtual toss-up, really. Mm-hmm. And I would have to say, give me Boise State by 7.
That's
John,
fair.
what do you think about this matchup?
I think this is a very boring game. Both these teams.
But it's two terribles.
I think
Two
I agree.
terribles makes for a good game,
I
right?
don't really like watching two terrible teams, but I'm going to have to pick Boise State just because I hate them less.
And to be fair, if Boise State's not terrible, they're just not Power 5.
It's like
They're
Martin
still
Luther
terrible,
King
but-
said, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Remember
Yeah.
that.
He's been
Justin
thinking of that for 2 weeks.
I don't think that really had anything to do with what we're talking about.
No,
but thank you.
He said that, knowing that Florida State and
And Boise would
State
somehow
He was a
one day
visionary.
play.
Yeah.
Truly
So,
was.
it's come to fulfillment now.
Okay, moving on to one that's a little bit more interesting, and actually has SEC ties. The game in Dallas, the kickoff game between Auburn and Oregon. Auburn will be the home team. They'll be wearing the blues. Oregon will be wearing God knows what because they're Oregon. And Auburn is currently a 3-point favorite. So another one that the odds makers really don't want to take one side on. It's a virtual toss-up. Both teams were kind of, so-so last year. Neither one of them was particularly bad or particularly great. Auburn finishing 4th in the SEC West, and Oregon finishing near the top of the Pac-12. I guess they were 3rd in the Pac-12, actually. So how confident are you, if you're an Auburn fan, heading into this game? I mean, Bo Nix is your new true freshman quarterback, and you get most of your defensive line back. So do you have a lot of confidence just because the defense is good, or are you worried about Justin Herbert and the Oregon offense? Because that's really all that Oregon has to boast is Justin Herbert in the offense. Grady, I'll let you start.
Yeah, Oregon's defense is okay. We have the better defense. By a mile, but I think what the interesting matchup is going to be to see if our offense can move the ball against their defense. It'll be weakness versus weakness, and whoever wins that weakness, I think, is going to win the game.
And so saying that Auburn and Oregon's offense are the weakness of their teams, is that what you said?
I'm saying Auburn's offense and Oregon's defense. Sorry, I don't know if I said that correctly.
Okay.
I would agree.
That matchup.
Yeah, I think Auburn is definitely going to come out on top in that battle, though, because the only real unknown is the quarterback, and Bo Nix, he looks pretty solid on film. I know it's not against, live reps in a game, but
It's not against Power 5.
yeah, he looks, as good as a freshman quarterback could, I think. So as long as he doesn't fall apart, and I think he's got enough pieces around him that he's going to be able to get the win.
And we'll go over the quarterback battle specifically a little bit later on. But if you're Auburn, who knows? Is it a deal where your offense is really a burden to bear, or you still have Seth Williams, you still have some pretty decent pieces on the offensive side of the ball. So Grayson, what do you think of Auburn's offense? Would you be confident in them against Oregon?
Well, I think just like in really every football game, the line is going to be the most important.
Sure. And Auburn had a pretty weak line, and Oregon had a pretty good line.
Yeah, Oregon's offensive line and Auburn's defensive line are, one would probably say, the two strongest position groups on each team. Oregon, I know, has Calvin Throckmorton. Auburn has Derek Brown, Nick Coe, Marlon Davidson. And then Auburn's offensive line is really going to make or break the run game because I think...
And that's how Auburn lives.
And Auburn, another interesting matchup is Auburn's defensive backs versus Justin Herbert. I think they'll be able to contain him fairly well. So it's really just how well can Auburn do against Oregon's defense, I think, is probably the wild card.
I was just going to say, it'll be interesting to see what our DBs do versus Oregon because Herbert's great, right? But if you're throwing to guys that have bricks for hands, I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying they lost their top receiver last year.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see if any playmakers show out for Oregon, and if they do, it could be the difference in the game.
True. The quarterback has to throw to somebody, especially if you're a
prediction.
pocket passer like Herbert is. He's not going to hurt you with his legs so much.
Here's a prediction.
I think
Auburn will not give up more than 150 yards,
Whoa.
Wow.
That's
Period.
That's a interesting take.
I don't know about
If
that
you said
one.
350, I'd agree with you.
If you said
350.
150 on the ground, I might be with you.
150 period.
I will predict Oregon has less than 100 yards on the ground, but more than 150 total. I think Oregon passes for more yards than Auburn, but also turns the ball over more, and ultimately I think Auburn will win, probably in about a 7 to 10 point game, something around that.
Yeah, and I don't think Justin Herbert's overrated by any means. but he's not that
Underrated.
awesome. He's not under.
He's not.
It's a deal.
Invincible. So
Yeah,
to speak.
and you know, pro scouts are all over him, but that doesn't make you the greatest college quarterback who ever lived.
Exactly.
And if you're Auburn DBs, I mean, how much does he really keep you up at night? Because he's a tough quarterback to match up against, sure, but it's not like you're going against next Heisman Trophy winner. That's just
Watch him
not.
win the
That's
Heisman
not.
now.
That's not his game. He's a good pro style quarterback.
I think you're kind of
I'm putting all my money on Justin
I think
Herbert
you're-
for the Heisman.
underselling him a little bit. I mean, I get what you're saying. He's not like amazing. Nothing to be like extremely like scared
You want
of.
to sell him?
No, I'm saying Riley's underselling.
What is
him.
wrong with you?
I mean,
Go ahead, Craig.
but what Pac-12 quarterback isn't like hailed as the next like best quarterback ever?
Like Sam Darnold and Josh
Yeah.
Rosen, what did they do
True.
in college? And they went, top 10.
They were okay
There were 9
in
mistakes
college.
before me. Now
They were
he's
really
been traded.
okay in
There's
college.
a lot of okay quarterbacks
Like
in college, though.
Like Georgia's transfer quarterback that's at Washington, Mason.
Eason?
Eason. There we go. Jacob Eason. He's not. He wasn't even that good at
No.
Georgia.
He was
about,
terrible.
you think about Mitch
I wouldn't say
Trubisky was
terrible.
like
was pretty
a
bad.
little bit above average at North Carolina. He was the number 2 overall pick for the Bears. So, like you said, pro scouts being
The
hyped.
pro game is
Doesn't-
so different than the college
It-
game.
It doesn't mean you're
stupider.
elite in college. It is stupider.
I will be interested to see if Herbert works our linebackers because we have a lot of young linebackers that don't have a whole lot of playing experience, and so it'll be interesting to see if he plays with them with his eyes and with his pump fakes. It'll be interesting to see that matchup.
And it's almost completely over the air. In fact, I don't even know who Oregon's running back is. I mean, the ground game is not totally there.
But they do have a good offensive line. So
Sure,
I think,
and that can protect Justin
yeah.
Herbert.
And I think they'll have a decent ground game, but
but I think also having
nothing
to go
that'll
up
win the
against
game.
Auburn's line.
Right, and that's a
Exactly.
tough line to go up against Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown, etc.
Auburn has
Nico.
2 of the top 3 safeties in the SEC coming back from last year and defending the run. So if one thing is not going to win the game, I'm going to say it's Oregon's run game.
Real quick before we go to break, I would like final score from each of you. Grady, I'll start with you because you're to my right.
I'm gonna say Auburn obviously will beat Oregon. I mean, I'm biased, so I'm gonna say that.
Okay.
But it's going to be close. I'm expecting something like 31-28, 31-24, something close like that, a one-score game.
And you think it's going to be fairly low scoring?
That's fairly high scoring for a first game. You got
Okay.
a lot of unknowns on both sides, especially with Oregon's defense and Auburn's offense, knowing what you're going to get with your quarterback game. So it'll be interesting to see, but I don't think it'll be that high scoring.
John, final score?
34-7 Auburn.
34-7.
Yes.
That's a pretty big beat down.
This man
Yes.
is
For 2
predicting
Power 5 teams, that's a beat down.
and 2
Yeah.
top 16 teams.
Yeah.
Well, it's Oregon, so
I'm going to go.
So, needless to say, you're taking the over on Auburn only winning by 3.
Yes.
yes.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say 27-19.
Okay,
Auburn.
that's respectable. Fairly low
So
scoring.
do they get a safety?
They kick 4 field goals and score a touchdown.
Oh.
We should say we're going to win 22-19. Oops.
Are they
that was
kicking?
the score
Are
the
they
last time
kicking
we played
90-yard
them.
field goals since they're not going to
nice.
get over 150 yards?
I'm going to be honest, I didn't hear any of that.
I said, are they kicking 90-yard field goals since they're not going to get over 150 yards offense?
Yeah, they're going to return the kickoffs
Oh, okay.
Okay.
to about the 30-yard
it.
line.
So it's
I
not
see.
150 yards total yards. It's just offense.
So.
And
Yeah.
to round it out, I think Auburn wins by 10. So not dominating, but still respectable for Auburn. I was tempted to kind of take Oregon, but, Bo Nix is something to be excited about. If Derek Brown, Marlon Davis, that defensive
Nico.
line, that's what's going to
TD
win.
Moultrie.
Big Cat
The
Bryant.
list goes on. That
Tyrone
defensive
Truesdale.
line is what's probably going to win the game for Auburn. Therefore, I'm going to take.
Quan Newton.
I'm going to.
Quintus Miller.
I'm going to take 30-20.
I also
Auburn.
think Auburn's offensive line is going to surprise some people out there. So keep an eye on that.
We're going to head to break real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Braves of recent, but we'll get back to college football in the coming segment. So don't go away.
Now more of the Southeastern Sports Podcast with John, Riley, and Brayson.
Welcome back in. Southeastern Sports Podcast, about a week away from college football week 1 starting up. We went over a few matchups, the best matchups, I guess you could say, in college football. In the first segment, we'll get to the rest of the best in the final segment, including the Vandy and Georgia game. But for right now, we're gonna shift our focus to the greatest game that God ever invented. That's the game of baseball for just a
NASCAR.
moment.
Oh.
NASCAR. Yeah, that's close to 2 or 3.
I thought you were
Anyway.
going to say curling, but
So baseball, the Braves as of late still continuing to play well. The thing that's very interesting about the Braves, I think, is the fact that so many injuries. It would be right field, Markakis is out, right? Riley in left field is out. Swanson in shortstop taking forever to get back from a contusion.
He is starting rehab.
He is starting rehab in Rome today. On Friday night.
And Austin Riley also starting.
So even with all of these guys out, the Braves are continuing to stay afloat. I mean, Culberson and you've got a lot of folks that are filling in. Adeiny Echeverria being picked up.
Matt Joyce has been awesome.
These guys and Adam Duvall. These guys are falling in, and I mean, I guess that just the Braves are continuing to win games without some of their best players, and I think that says a lot about the depth of the offense. What do you guys think about the Braves' depth of offense? And assuming that all of those guys come back for the playoffs, how does that help them in the playoffs? Because deep teams normally are the most competitive when it comes to playoff time.
I think when you look at the Dodgers series and you see that the Braves are running out lineups with Rafael Ortega, who's played less than a full season, and he's, 30 years old? He's played
28.
less than a full season of MLB experience. You have Adeiny Echeverria, who was just signed.
So proud of you for getting that in the first try.
Yeah.
Don't patronize me. Anyways, and like bench and platoon guys like Matt Joyce, Adam Duvall, Charlie Culberson. And plus you take out your best player, Ronald Acuna, in the 4th inning, and you still beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3. I think that's
Big time, man.
really big for confidence.
And that's not to say the Braves are going to beat Dodgers in the playoffs, but that is really impressive that the Braves were able to take that series.
They certainly can.
And as hot as the Dodgers have been, and as clutch as the Dodgers have been, on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm. I think another position group that really showed out lately is the bullpen. Shane Green has gotten back in a groove. Mark Melanson's looked pretty solid at closer. Right. Luke Jackson has been amazing as always.
That was the big question.
He's thrown 7 of 8 scoreless or 6 of 8 scoreless as of last night.
Yeah, he's been good.
The bullpen was really the big question mark. I think it was a good move, and I know Shane Green has not really gone into. He hasn't played very well for the Braves, especially out of the closer's role back when he had it.
Mm-hmm.
He hadn't played well, but I think it's a great move to pick up Melanson and pick up Shane Green, and virtually not for much. And at the same time, it's not a rental because both of those guys have 1 year left on the contract.
Yes.
So it's not a deal where we're trying to win a World Series right this very second. The Braves are saying, okay, we need some veteran guys. We have some proven arms. But at the same time, we want to keep them for more than just a few months.
I think you got to credit Anthopoulos for making the team better right now and keeping the pretty big window for contention that they have.
And
open.
also, I think a lot of people said, if you're into the Braves farm system, into the Braves prospects, he was able to get both of those arms plus Chris Martin. Mm-hmm. He was able to get all 3 of those guys without giving up anyone named Ian Anderson or
Drew Waters,
or Christian Pache. I think it's pretty impressive. Now, he did give up Coley Allard, which I was a little bit upset about, but at the same time, you were able to keep those 3 big names, and I think that's huge.
I would like to point out how good of a job Ryan Snitker's done this year. I mean, a lot of people were clamoring for Shane Green's head after he was doing so badly or poorly, but he really stuck him in there, gave him chances, and now we've seen the more he pitches, the more livelier his cutter and his fastball are getting. And it's really it's great to see Shane Green's given opportunities even when he's struggling.
Right. Well, the bullpen really is coming full circle. I think at this point after the trades, I know that starting pitching is not really in the place that everyone would like. But would you guys say that the Braves are, 100%? They're deep at every position now because the rotation, while it's still good, it still has a few question marks in it. And your best guy has been Mike Soroka. Max Fried has been good. And then after that, it's kind of, Not really sure after that because Keuchel has been iffy, even though he had a great game this last week.
Mm-hmm.
And, after that, Fultonevich.
He's been better.
He has been better than he
Since
was.
he came back up, and it hasn't just been one start.
Better than he was, but still not incredible. And even when the Braves do win games, he gives up a lot of runs.
I would say he's been pretty impressive since he's come back up from AAA.
So you think he vintage Fulte?
I don't know if I go so far as to say that, but definitely closer to last year than the first half of this season. I would say I'm pretty confident in the rotation when your worst two starters, you'd probably say right now, just based on this season, are Fulte and Tehran.
Right.
Because both of them have the...
And Tehran is just kind of typical.
Both have the potential...
They were one day and not there the next.
To pitch, 7 shutout innings, but they also have the potential to lose their cool and give up 6 runs in 2 innings. So...
And,
But those
as long as the starters don't crash and burn, you still got a good offense.
Because you're confident in Max Fried and definitely Mike Soroka to give you good starts in the playoffs. And I think Keuchel, has the experience. He's been there. He probably, it's especially against a team like the Dodgers. He may not have like a shutdown performance, but he'll give you a chance to win.
Right, of course. John, what do you think about this current team? What's the biggest weakness to you?
I think the biggest weakness would probably still be the bullpen, and it's not that they're doing bad. I think it's just that everything else looks pretty solid right now. Mm-hmm. They're still hitting the ball like they were early in the year. And I never thought that the Braves could win a game against it, or not a game, but a series against the Dodgers. So now that they've done that, go ahead and put them down to sweep the Dodgers in the NLCS and
sweep the
maybe
Astros in
the
the
World Series.
Yeah.
So.
A little bit too early for that, but
It's
I
great.
like the confidence.
It's great to see some of the resiliency.
Something else that is worth noting, in the NL East, and a lot of people make fun of the competition in the NL East, and the NL Central is better, sure, but at the same time, you have the Braves, and everyone at the beginning of the year is as well as the Phillies played last season, even though at the end they dropped off. They picked up Bryce Harper. And people were saying, wow, the Phillies are here to play. The Phillies have crashed and burned. At the beginning of August, they crashed and burned. Right now, they are 9.5 games out of first place. Did anybody in this room think they would be 9.5 out of first place at any point in the season? Because I didn't. I thought they would keep it within 4 or 5 games.
I thought they were overhyped, but I didn't think they would be in 4th place.
Right. Yeah, the Mets are better about half game right now.
I certainly didn't think the Mets. I thought the Nationals had a chance with Soto and Robles and Trey Turner and obviously Rendon and their great pitching staff. But, yeah, it surprised me how badly they fallen short of expectations. Right. Not that they have, but just the extent of it. And hot take, next year they will be closer to the Marlins in the NL East standings than to any other team.
Yeah, there's quite a drop-off, by the way. The Marlins are 30.5, and number 4 is the Phillies at 9.5.
Next year.
Next season.
Well, what if the Marlins win the NL East?
I think they're mathematically out of it.
Next year.
Oh, next season.
Okay. The Phillies will be fighting for 4th place. That's all I'm saying.
Or second.
Okay. They will not be in real contention for the division next year.
They could be in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
I got you. Well, I just think that's interesting how the only real competition is kind of coming from the Nationals, and they're not even doing that great. Max Scherzer's having another great year. Soto and Rendon are having good seasons at the plate, but they're still 5.5 out of first place, which they're kind of in and out of if they want to make a run.
And as much as it pains me to say it, sorry, John, but
you
have to respect the Mets. They've been pretty.
They
good
are
since
9.5 out. They've had a great had a great month. They won 10 in a row at one point. At the time of this recording, Friday night, they've won 3 in a row. They're doing great. But the thing is, they started out so bad. They just can't recover. They're 9.5 out. They're 67 and 60.
I don't see them winning the division by any means, but I think
give them kudos, sure.
They could be in a wild card spot.
I loathe the Mets.
Right now, the Mets are a game and a half out, so that's feasible. Sure.
I also
and
just
that's what they're going for.
I want to say that I called the Braves running away with the division.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say
a month into the season? Would you say that the race is over right now?
No.
Mathematically, who's the closest?
The Nationals are 5.5 out. They still have a shot.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's over
unless the Braves just really fell apart.
Give it 2 weeks and it'll be over.
I would agree with Grady.
If it stays,
Second week of September will be over mathematically.
if everything continues as it's going, the Braves will obviously. But if the teams continue playing,
I think
up
it's
to
over.
the
And
level
since
they're
the
playing.
Braves are working on their like third left fielder, I mean,
yeah,
I feel like it's kind of like as many problems as you could throw at the Braves as far as that kind of stuff, injuries and stuff.
Sure. Well, as of right now, the Braves are going to get that number 2 seed, also known as the seed that plays the other division champion, and the Dodgers, which currently they're 85-44, which is pretty unheard of at this point. They are going to
Juice
be
the balls.
just the Dodgers.
No, it's not
And
the Dodgers.
the,
MLB.
They will be
They
playing the
don't-
wild card winner, which right now is between the Nationals and the Cubs. Cubs are currently tied for the division lead in the Central. So it'll be Braves versus Cubs or Cardinals, and Dodgers versus winner of Washington and Cubs or Cardinals, basically.
Can we talk about juice balls instead?
listen to this conspiracy theory.
Oh my goodness.
The Astros are the best team in the AL. I mean, all MLB teams, but especially the AL, are known for hitting home runs. One would say that
Just
the
so
balls
you know,
one
they're
would
like
say-
a game out of actually being the best.
Riley.
I'm just saying the
Riley.
Astros are pretty much the best in the AL right now.
Riley. One might say that the balls are juiced. Minute Maid is a juice company. What's the name of the Astros park? Minute Maid
Park.
Park. Coincidence?
dropping
I think
hints.
not.
Okay, but honestly, let's
I
talk
think
about
not.
every home run record be like on pace to be broken right now.
Not a fan.
I mean,
the
it's
other
pretty-
thing is Mike Trout right now has hit more home runs. He's already broken his single season record.
Exactly.
And it's August.
Exactly. Like, do they think we're idiots? Like, do they
I
think
think
people don't understand this?
We're on pace to bust the record of home runs in a season. It's by like 300 or 400 home runs. It's insane. It's Justin Verlander was absolutely right.
And you know, the MLB always talks about we need to make the games faster. We need to have more offense. You have to pick one or the other. You can't have more offense and
I do think there's
faster
something up.
games.
There's definitely something up with the
I mean,
balls. There's no doubt about it. But at the
People
same
don't
time, it's not
improve.
illegal.
I know. Well, it's 'cause the
MLB
MLB is
owns
the only
Rawlings.
body
It's frowned
that's
upon,
like
but it's not
governing
illegal.
over this. I
MLB
mean,
owns Rawlings, so yes, there's
Right.
probably doctoring
It's
going
it's
on.
morally illegal.
yeah.
And also, I think it's a shame because from a history
Yeah,
perspective,
exactly.
you can't compare
right.
two players that played
Like,
5 years
it's
apart
usually-
now.
You
Yeah,
have
the
Pete
records.
Alonso setting records. Who the frick wants Pete Alonso setting records? Nobody.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate because think about a great player in the late 90s, or the early 2000s maybe.
Barry
And-
Bonds.
Okay, other than people who cheated themselves.
Alex Rodriguez.
Other than people who cheated themselves. And Ken Griffey Jr.
Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa.
Ken Griffey Jr.'s records being
Oh, yeah,
broken.
there you go.
Or Chipper Jones's
Ryan Braun.
records are being broken by somebody who's like really average, but they just have juice balls. I think it's unfortunate.
Yes.
Well, Aristides Aquino just beat the I don't know, it's like 6 or 8 in 11 or 14 games. It's something ridiculous. Like he's
Yeah.
punishing the ball. No pun intended.
Pun was intended, but
Absolutely.
Definitely.
but I mean, and no disrespect to Aquino, like he's a great player, but you know,
But you're turning like slightly above average players, I think, into like
stars,
monsters. You
Yeah.
know?
And you're making pitchers look terrible.
That's
Right.
true.
I mean,
ERAs are going up.
You're either amazing or you're awful. Like 4
Another
or 5
thing,
ERA.
and I know that y'all probably aren't sabermetric people, but if you look at like average exit velocity
It's gone up.
from like 4 or 5 years ago to today, it's astronomically
And that's the
higher.
thing is if it
MLB
was
is
like
corking the
20,
bats.
30 years, I would agree that you could have players improving that much in 20 or 30 years. But when it's 5 or 2 years,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Like that's not even.
I mean, average exit velos are almost to 100.
yeah.
Okay, listen to this. MLB grows special trees, stronger bats, balls are hit
Grayson.
harder. So it's not really traceable.
No, what they're doing.
If you
though-
want more conspiracy theories, just follow us on
Do they
Twitter
get-
and
do they
Instagram.
get,
Grayson will give them to you.
one
Do
thing
they get like more dense wood? Is that how you do that?
It's not the
Or you
bat.
just
It's the ball.
cork it.
MLB.
Just
No.
cork it.
It's not the bat.
Well, you
it's the
can't
balls.
trace dense wood.
What they're doing.
I think it's the batting gloves. The grip is much.
Okay.
What they're doing with the balls is they're making the laces not stick out from the
Crispier.
cover as much, and they're doing something to create more of a rubbery, elastic center.
I think it's
so it bounces
inside
more.
Grady is
because
an
if it was
engineer,
outside, other people.
so-
could
Well, you
actually
couldn't have as
see it.
much-
That's what I'm saying. The inside, the core of the ball is more elastic, so that means you're losing less energy and you can hit it far.
I tell you what,
Would you say that
guys,
the chemical makeup of the ball might have something to do with the projected trajectory of the chemistry through the aerodynamics?
Possibly. It's possible.
Okay.
Well, since this is already kind of a train wreck, but I did
Yeah,
enjoy
you're welcome.
talking about the juice balls. We're going to head to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple quarterback situations that are going on, even though the season has not even really started yet. You're listening to the Southeastern Sports Podcast.
Now more of the Southeastern Sports Podcast with John, Riley, and Brayson.
Welcome back in, Southeastern Sports Podcast. Just got done talking about a little bit of baseball. Got to transition back to college football because, again, I feel like I've said it 100 times, but it's only a week away, less than a week away. How amazing is that, guys?
So it's actually a day to college football.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, week 0. I'm talking about week 1 games, the real games.
I mean-
nothing gets Florida and Miami, but the real games.
Yes, Florida.
And we're
Miami,
going to,
by contrast, is
we're
a
actually
fake-
going to
fake game.
preview some of the best games. We've already talked about Auburn, Oregon a little bit, but we'll preview some of the best games in the next segment. This segment we wanted to dedicate to a couple of really dedicate to a couple of very important quarterback battles. We'll start with Mississippi State. Very interesting situation. They're trying to replace Nick Fitzgerald very quickly. Very bland question, but do y'all think that they can do it?
Yes.
I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's your spectrum
How
right there.
much? Like, is it a deal where they don't have Nick Fitzgerald, therefore they're tanking, or they don't have Nick Fitzgerald, but they'll still win 6 or 7 games?
I mean,
Well, I hope they're
Fitzgerald.
not tanking if they know how college sports
I mean,
work.
Fitzgerald was a good quarterback, but I mean, I don't think he's like irreplaceable. You know, like
He's not
True.
elite.
yeah.
He's not irreplaceable, but their options are kind of underwhelming. It's you know,
yeah, that's what I mean. I mean,
You know,
there's nobody there
it's
to
a
replace him.
backup
And now
with,
one of them is
with a
transferred.
little
It
bit of
would
experience.
it would be different if it was like, oh, he's leaving, but we got this great guy behind him. I mean,
Of course, Tommy
Stevens.
Stevens he is familiar with the system, so
He may be decent.
I mean, I'm not saying they'll be bad, but I don't think they'll be as good as
and
they
to
were
be
last
fair,
year.
we haven't seen Tommy Stevens yet, so
They have
I
a lot
mean,
of
give him a
weapons.
chance, I guess. But
And he's
But
what
you-
does that say?
but
He's
State-
a graduate transfer, and we've never seen him. Is he really that
but
good?
State fans are pretty worried about this, and there's reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's kind of weird how it's working out because Stevens, you know, has won the job, if you don't know. And then it's Thompson. He's the.
Yeah.
Keaton Thompson.
So apparently he's looking at, well, rumor is he's looking at going to Florida with Dan Mullen, the guy who recruited him. So it's basically just these guys transferring to whoever's recruited them out of high school, you know?
Or they have a chance to play.
Yeah, but I mean, there's definitely more places than Mississippi State and Florida. I don't think it's any coincidence that
Nope.
you go to.
Those are the only two places.
I don't think there's any coincidence that, you know, they're going to the coaches that recruited them out of high school.
I think it'll be interesting to see because Mississippi State has a good offensive line. They have some good weapons on the outside, and they have a couple great running backs. I won't say great, but they're good. They're good running backs. And I don't think that there's going to be a huge drop off from last year. I still think they win 7-8 games.
So you think
but
State stays kind of course because of the run game?
Yes, I don't think
That's
they.
fair.
I don't think they give up on the system or they try something new like Gus Malzahn did with this whole like pass spread option offense. But I do think that there is a drop off. It'll just be interesting to see how much.
Speaking of Gus Malzahn, another quarterback. I'm sorry, what did you have to say?
No,
Bruce?
I was just saying. That's all I had to contribute.
Fair enough. Speaking of Gus Malzahn, there was a quarterback battle that was going on at Auburn to replace Jarrett Stidham. Went on to the NFL. Gatewood and Joey Gatewood and Bo Nix were the two big names. Pretty much everyone expected to say, hey, Bo Nix is really good, but he's a freshman. Let's give it somebody who's been in the system. But I think some people were quite surprised when Gus Malzahn came out this last week and said that it was Nix that was getting a job. What was y'all's initial reaction to Bo Nix being named the starter? I'll start with you, Brayson.
I won't say I was surprised.
I was a little bit surprised.
Well, I was not surprised. I think they're going to take it slow. I think it'll be a run-oriented offense, especially with him being a decent runner. It'll probably, he did enroll early, so he knows a lot of the playbook, but it won't be probably the full playbook. You'll see packages for Gatewood, I'm sure, and based on how Nix does, maybe more or less. But all this to say, Auburn lost the next great quarterback, Malik Willis, who I would like to call the Johnny Appleseed of football, because he's real and he's cool, but he's just become larger of life. And in about 80 to 150 years from now, they'll be writing children's stories about him.
We're just going to move on because Malik Willis was the third best quarterback on the roster.
I agree.
Go ahead, John.
I think that Auburn is going to tear down the Heisman bust they have in front of the stadium and put a statue of Malik Willis. That's large.
John, you're not taking this seriously.
Here's my real, honest opinion on the Auburn quarterback situation. Okay, so I heard Bo Nix on the job. At first, I was upset because I thought, man, there didn't seem to be much separation between these two, and Joey Gatewood is the older one.
Yes.
But after looking at some of Nix's film, watching people analyze it, I think he is going to be a very good quarterback and can lead Auburn to a great season.
A great season, though, can he lead them to an SEC championship?
Yes.
First year.
Yes, but I think that, you're still going to see Gatewood, and, it's not going to be a situation where he comes in on the goal line, he's definitely running the ball. He can still throw the ball. I don't think he's a bad passer at all. I think it's just that Nix was that much better. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and hopefully this isn't that Gatewood failed to step up to the challenge. It's that Nix was so good that they, I don't say had no choice, but, were pushed to start him as a freshman.
Grady, what you got?
I would say that I wish Joey would start because I feel like he has more time with the system. But if Nix is the better quarterback, I want him starting.
Yeah, fair enough.
I will point out that Week 1's quarterback will probably not be the starting quarterback at the end. Well, not saying at the end. I'm just saying that there's a battle to be had still, and you have two cupcakes. You got Kent State and Tulane. You can really test them in certain situations. And I think John said this before. I don't know if he said it on air, but the starter of the A&M game will be the starter the rest of the season.
Yes. But I think the only way that Bo Nix isn't the starter at the end of the season is if he just completely falls apart. I think now that he's got the start, I don't see them, turning around and putting Gatewood back in the starting spot.
I don't think first time he throws an interception or makes a bad read, you need to take him out because that'll kill his confidence, especially being a true freshman.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, I'm a big Bo Nix fan personally. I think that he's a great quarterback. But, I really think that he's great. The only deal is I was very surprised to see that he's going to start as a freshman. And I hope that it's not a deal where Auburn tries to play with two quarterbacks. I'm okay with Gatewood playing, but I don't want to see two quarterbacks because if you got two quarterbacks, you got no quarterback. Thank you, Grady.
Riley, tell the people your fantasy name.
Bo Nix for Heisman. That is not meant to overhype the guy.
To clarify, that's not his fantasy name that he would have. It's his fantasy football teams.
Yeah, I think everyone got that.
Do the people want to know the name that I have for fantasy football?
Do they?
Yes.
No.
Yes, they do? Okay.
No.
Malik for Heisman.
Well, I would like
one of those is actually feasible.
Well, since
one of them is a true freshman.
Since we're throwing it out there, Nitco fan club, Nitco for the Bednarik Award.
Go ahead, Grady. While we're here, what's your fantasy team name, bud?
Davidson's division because it's his division.
Insightful.
You guys see where I got that from?
Right.
No, I don't see.
Let's
Can you
move on.
explain,
Let's
please?
move on. No, move on.
No, seriously though.
Riley.
I'm not joking.
Riley, what is next?
Well, when we come back, we're going to preview a few more of the games. We already talked about Auburn and Oregon, as well as the Florida State-Boise game. But also, Georgia's playing Vanderbilt. Not necessarily talking about how it's going to be a close game, but kind of a surprising line. And also Notre Dame and Louisville. We will get into that. a little bit more when we come back. You're listening to Southeastern Sports Podcast.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at SE Sports Podcast. Now, here's more of the show.
We're already back. Southeastern Sports Podcast. Final segment, as college football is just around the corner. And with that in mind, we're going to continue some previews that we had in the very first segment of the show. And first, I want to preview the only game that's SEC versus SEC this week. And it's not one that's going to really turn a lot of channels, but is Georgia at Vanderbilt. Everyone in this room agrees that Georgia's probably going to win.
Yes,
Upset
but
alert.
conditionally.
Okay.
Georgia pulls the underdog. Georgia Bulldogs pull off the upset.
Georgia is a 20-point favorite.
Ooh.
Do you guys, we'll go around the room, do you guys think that Georgia wins by 20? Brayson?
I don't think Georgia covers.
I don't think they win by 20 either. I think they win by
makes
17.
This a closer game than people think. Not a nail biter, but not something to laugh at.
True.
I expected the line to be higher, honestly. I don't think that it's going to be that large, but yeah, I just thought it would have been higher.
Yeah.
I think Georgia in almost every situation wins unless Vanderbilt comes out and stops Georgia's offense early. I mean, Vanderbilt.
They can stop Jake Fromm early or stop the run game.
Just stop the offense. Stop the offense in general. I mean,
That's a tough task, though.
it is a tough task, but you got to think about it. Georgia has no returning starting weapons on the outside. So Jake Fromm was working with new receivers. Their offensive line is always going to be good. DeAndre Swift formerly was not an every down back. Now he's going to be a workhorse back. It'll be interesting to see how he handles that. I think he'll handle it well, but it'll
I
still
think
be
he will.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
if Vanderbilt comes out and stops their offense early, I don't think they can stop it the whole game, and they get up a couple scores early, whether it be 6-0, 14-0, anything between. It'll be interesting to see how Georgia handles that. That's the only
Okay.
situation that I see.
Interesting.
Okay. Here's my key to victory for Vanderbilt. Anchor down. That's their mantra, right? So I think they need to anchor down, and by that I mean literally tie a physical anchor to Jake Fromm and DeAndre Swift, and then they will win the game.
They might have a chance then, right? Well, what about Keyshawn Vaughn? I mean, can Keyshawn Vaughn be enough of a difference maker to win this game?
Early, yes. I don't think late, though.
Okay.
You don't,
you
think
think
that Vandy crowd will keep on rocking the whole game?
Yeah.
Popping
If
and
they get up
rocking.
14, yes.
Now, if
Polka
this
dotting.
game is between the hedges, I think that 20 is
Oh,
pretty
if
possible.
it's at Georgia, it's
but
no
if
chance.
it's in Vandy, I'll take Vandy by 17, but it'll be fairly high scoring. I'm going to say this is
100
tough.
to
This
2.
is tough. Maybe not quite that high scoring. We're going to say here 30. That's tough.
30.
That's really tough. I'm going to say Georgia puts up 35 and wins by 17.
I think it's going to be 31-14, 31 or 31-14 or 34-20. It won't be a one-score game, but I think Vanderbilt stays in it.
Okay. Another one I think that's worth talking about.
42-10, Georgia.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't give you guys a chance. Go ahead.
18.
That was an interesting
That's a
score.
little bit subjective.
So another one worth talking about, I think, Notre Dame and Louisville. So if Louisville still had a Lamar Jackson, this might be worth watching.
Or Teddy Bridgewater.
Is it worth watching? We'll go around the room, Grady.
Yes, because I want to see if Notre Dame has some serious holes.
Okay. But you still think Notre Dame wins?
Yes, by a lot.
I think if Notre Dame doesn't beat them by 35, then that is a show that they have some serious holes.
Because-
And that they're still overrated like they
And their
always
schedule
are.
is crap.
Yes.
So this would be like if they play bad versus Louisville.
Also, I think
man.
Louisville might be one of the most difficult teams on the schedule. I mean, Georgia's obviously
Catholics
the
versus
most.
Cardinals.
Obviously, Georgia's the most
rivalry as
difficult.
old as time.
But also, I think that this is the second most difficult team on the schedule, probably.
Agreed.
Grayson, what do you think?
Louisville is like a beta version of Florida State. So if Notre Dame loses this game or even comes close to losing this game, they need to just be taken out of any playoff contention for the next 5 years.
Even if they go undefeated.
They
Doesn't
should
Louisville
probably
have
just
Puma
quit.
Pass,
if
though?
they lose, they won't be undefeated.
Who cares?
Think about that.
Who cares,
saying.
Grady? So the line is at 20. I think Notre Dame, if they are truly like a playoff contender, I think they should win by at least
3 touchdowns.
At least 28. Yeah.
I think Notre Dame takes it by like 24. Yeah.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, 21.
So we're all saying
So
that.
if you're placing your bets, bet on Louisville. Make sure to do that.
Yeah.
So
Just based on
Your
our
small
predictions.
bets on Louisville.
what we're saying here basically is that Notre Dame's going to win this game, but it's just going to be interesting to see if they struggle to a bad team.
Can we talk about the Clemson Georgia Tech game for a
No,
moment?
I don't really
No,
want to
no,
do
no.
that.
Let's talk about Bama Duke.
That's
That's what's next on the schedule. Go ahead.
Oh,
Right.
okay. The only thing
Bama is a 32-point favorite. Just want to throw it out there before you start.
I just wanted to talk about this because I wanted to talk about Nick Saban having Ray Rice come speak to the team about how to treat women. I think
I don't think that was the subject, but
No, that's confirmed.
yeah, that's a thing. I don't know where he got that idea from, but way to go, Nick.
Speaking of other controversial things, Mississippi State got handed down 2 scholarships lost in football and 1 in basketball. today.
yeah, a
no.
student.
That will be crippling
a-
to their fight for the 3rd place in the SEC
Right.
West.
Well, basketball also got penalized a little bit too.
I mean,
Oh,
they're cheats in
no.
basketball too this
Oh.
year.
The Quincy, the Weatherspoons, man, come
I
on.
thought they both
Oh,
graduated
wow.
by now. Maybe not.
That's hilarious.
The irrelevance is killing
The
me.
deal is,
Watch us lose this
they-
year now.
Nah, please don't.
I mean, it's not like a huge sanction, but
I'll
they
regret
had
this.
a student tutor basically do all of the coursework for a few football players and 1 basketball player, and they got punished. Not huge, not big time, no postseason ban, but they did get some scholarships taken and some recruiting
Here's-
violations.
Shades
here's
of
the
Carolina
thing.
blue.
Here's the thing. I mean, like, this happens at all the schools. You know, all the cheaters, as Jim Harbaugh would say.
Yeah, because
I
he's
mean-
not a cheater himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I mean,
he would
any
never.
Power 5 school, you know this is going on.
Agreed.
So
This is a scapegoat case. I feel like
mean,
they wanted that was a
they-
bigger deal.
they got a slap on the wrist, if that. I mean, it's not that big a
Yeah,
deal.
well, let's get back on track. Though.
Yeah,
Bama
sorry.
versus Duke, 32-point favorite Alabama. Who in here thinks that they cover?
I
I think they
I do.
You
probably
think
do.
they cover the
But
32?
I think it's close.
think they cover.
I think they cover too.
Yeah.
Like I think it'll be close at half. I think it'll be within a couple scores at half, but then Bama will run
I
away
mean,
with it.
last
I mean,
year Duke had Daniel Jones. Now they have.
nobody.
But does Daniel Jones's residue wipe off on Duke and they become
Just
magical?
residue.
I don't
You tell
think that
me.
if they had Daniel Jones, they would have any shot in this game. I don't.
That's fair.
That,
Hopefully
our
they
question of the
cleaned the
day.
locker room well enough. He doesn't have any residue left over.
Drop in the drop in the comment section. Does
Session.
Daniel Jones condensate? And if so, is there enough residue left
It's called sweating.
If they're listening on Spotify,
To-
they can't comment.
to propel Duke to
I see what you did there with
a
propel.
less than 32-point loss?
Yeah, I think
Check
that
in
Duke,
next week
I
to
think
find
Duke
out.
has no shot.
I think
And
Duke keeps
to-
it. Oh, sorry.
To be fair, Bama gets a lot of flack for not scheduling good opponents, but nobody in their right mind wants to play them. They end up with people like Duke.
I don't know if that really holds water, but I think Duke
Daniel
is.
Jones holds water,
Yeah.
and he leaves it behind.
Go ahead, Grady.
Omaha. I'm not Grady. Okay. I think Duke.
I was fast to get to Grady, but continue.
I
Go
think,
ahead.
I think Duke is competitive in the first quarter. However, Alabama will put like at least 21 points per quarter.
Thank you for putting the comma in its place.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna be even more ambitious. I think it's gonna be 21-0 at the end of the first, and then it's gonna be.
Jesus.
I think no, I'm serious. Like I'm pretty sure Bama's gonna have them wiped by the halftime. Like it's not even gonna be close.
They're gonna wipe all the condensation away.
They're gonna wipe their
The
behinds
residue.
with web. I can't speak.
Wet wipes.
Just
Wet
forget it.
wipes.
Just forget it.
Look, man, I don't want to know what weird stuff you're into, but you do you. Point is, Alabama will be ahead 21-0 at the beginning of the first quarter.
I guess. Is that
Write
supposed
it
to
down.
be?
That's
is that
basically
supposed
how
to
the
be like
Oklahoma
a-
game went.
Yes, I agree.
You want to talk about Clemson, Georgia Tech, or
We can very quickly say it. I think Clemson wins pretty easily. I mean, Georgia Tech, new coach, no longer doing the triple option. Clemson wins by 25.
I would like to say Trevor Lawrence is the Bruce Caitlyn Jenner of college football.
He does look like a girl.
He has won.
Is he
He really does.
But
Tell me if this rings a bell.
Is he Olympic medalist?
Both have won championships. Both last names start with a letter near the middle of the alphabet, and both
Bryson.
either look like women, whether it be intentional or unintentional.
I think people have had it with the
Stay with me
conspiracies.
here.
It's not a conspiracy. I like it.
That's a fact.
I really thought you
That's
were
an-
like going to go a little bit further with that.
All right.
Championships, mediocre last names, look like women.
Now, I will say Trevor Lawrence, I've seen him like without his helmet and like without his pads on, and like I've actually thought it was a girl.
Does he have a hot bod?
I'm talking about his face.
Moving on to
Bruce
Josh.
Jenner for Heisman.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and draw the line here. To close, who's winning the Heisman?
Booby Whitlow.
To be determined, man. I want to see the games first. I mean, it's
But-
very,
That's an answer.
it's
Who do you
very,
have to
very
pick?
easy
You
to
have to
put.
pick.
It's easy to put Tua Tagovailoa there just because he's the quarterback of Alabama and they always get overrated.
He'll probably win it this year, though.
I think Tua wins.
Kyler Murray. But he's not in college football anymore, so Trevor Lawrence or Bruce Jenner or Malik Willis.
I've
One
heard
of
a
the three.
lot of people
Okay.
say Trevor
One of the
Lawrence.
four.
I say Trevor Lawrence. He's going to put up stupid numbers in the ACC.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true.
Got him on my
That
fantasy
is-
team.
That is a big advantage that he plays absolutely nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So
Quickly before we end, this weekend's race at the time of this episode, well, not at the time, when you will hear it, will be at Darlington, the Lady in Black, one of the best racetracks to watch a race at. It's gonna be a good race.
it really is a great place to watch it. I mean, the throwback weekend's a lot of fun. Denny Hamlin is super hot right now in the circus. He's
As hot
already
as Trevor Lawrence.
he's
hot as
already
Matt DiBenedetto.
he's already won 3 times in the last month. Pretty amazing. But anyway, we'll be back next week, talk some more college football with you, and also some Braves, maybe some NASCAR, right, Grady? Let's get it.
Maybe if I'm back.
Thanks for listening to Southeastern Sports Podcast. We're out.
This has been the Southeastern Sports Podcast with John Abrams, Riley Hubbard, and Grayson Pierce. Be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. For more coverage of Southeastern sports, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at SE Sports Podcast.